I wanna talk about like the animation of Ghibli. I wanna talk about why so many people are so literally over heels about how the animation of Ghibli works. And I'm not an expert in any kind, to be honest. I am literally majoring in animation, so the reason as to why I'm even making this video in the first place is to talk about whether or not I can learn something from that. Okay, so to give you a little bit of background, I grew up with Disney like many people, and a lot of Western cartoons, and why so many of them can be really influential to many Westerners, as well as like people from the East and all that, right? So the way that I would describe Ghibli would be using the 12 and the 24 frames per second very wisely. That would be the best way that I would describe it. You know, I'm gonna be putting some videos within the description down below, because they have better vernacular levels than I could possibly have to explain with detail why the animation of them works. But I just want to talk about it from a fanatic of animation, and also from the perspective of somebody who's also learning animation, and what can I learn from this. Let's look at Disney's films and Disney's animation. So I'm going to be showing you some animations in the screen right now, and some of them belongs to James Baxter, the legendary animator, and some other belongs to Glen Keane, such as this one right here, right? And the thing about it, it's very, very interesting, because you'd see even within the paper animation how 24 frame each it looks and how fluid it looks. The way that I would describe Disney's 2D animation would be very cartoonish and very, very expressive in the best way possible. And when it comes to Ghibli films, I would describe it as very grounded, very calm. When it gets expressive, it gets fucking expressive. That's how wild it gets. And so I'm going to be showing you 4 or 5 different clips from different films of Ghibli, and more specifically from Miyazaki, right? And it's not only about anime kind of animation, or you know, Disney kind of animation, or like Westerner as a whole kind of animation. It's more than that. So within this clip of Kiki's Delivery Service, I want you to take a look at this.
Oh, wow, this costs so much.
When you look at this, you would probably think there's probably like, I don't know, like 50 drawings in this thing, or whatever, but no, in fact this is the amount of frames that are found within this film. And the thing about it is that it looks cheap, it looks choppy, and I think that that's the point, and that's the beauty of the whole thing. There's this other YouTube channel that I'm going to be showing you in the screen, and they very much describe the animation of Ghibli in a very interesting way. When Ghibli released their first 3D animation film, he described this animation.
This is mood, atmosphere. It's drawing the invisible through the use of details, and it's what separates the kitchen from the fucking toilet. This is something Studio Ghibli is especially good at. When Kiki is flying, you can feel the wind blowing through the movement of her dress. When the furnace is on, the saturated red brings out the heat. The grass sways, the bushes dance. And in Earwig, everything is static.
The detail I'm talking about is the way the clothes rustle and have their own sense of personality within Ghibli films, letting the viewer clearly imagine what it'd feel like to wear those clothes, or the way light can reflect off of soup to make it easier for that viewer to see themselves eating the soup. These are just small examples that lure the viewer in without them realizing. At the beginning of the film, there's a scene where the children dress up as ghosts and prance around. The smoothness of the blankets is noticeably smoother than anything else Ghibli has done, but that doesn't necessarily mean it looks better. Rather than looking like movements where each frame was carefully crafted and paid attention to by another person, it just feels like kind of robotic and, again, plastic.
And so when we look at this very choppy looking animation of Ghibli, it gives a lot of vividness and a lot of liveliness. Another thing that I want to show you, this comes from a completely different sets of kind of like background, because it's TV. It somewhat goes to show how similar it goes. So this is from a clip of one of my favorite shows of all time, Steven Universe.
Steven Jr.!
time like this.
And within this clip, you get to see how a drawing from the background kind of looks extremely different from a drawing that belongs in the forefront, which is the actual animation, which is the character who is being animated, right? This is something that is not only seen within Steven Universe. This is not a Steven Universe thing all alone. This is something that also happens in Avatar, The Last Airbender, for some instance. And this is part of this whole thing in which, you actually understand that those are two completely different worlds. But I want you to take a look at this clip from Spirited Away.
褒めてやらなきゃ。誰だいそれは？教えておくれな。あ、ここで働かせてください。まだそれを言うのかい。ここで働きたいんです。だーめ。そこに名前を書きな。働かせてやる。その代わり嫌だとか帰りたいとか言ったらすぐ小豚にしてやるからね。
名前ってここですか？
そうだよ、もうグズグズしないでさっさと書きな。
Within this clip, it has always fascinated me from the very moment that I started to watch the film. But in my own naive and very ignorant way of describing this whole thing is basically animating or putting background objects as if they could be animatable, as if they could be animation friendly, if that makes sense. And this is something that I wish that people would get normalized a little bit more. I feel like some people really need to kind of like find this common ground within this whole two different kinds of world. And in this thing, you get to see that there's like this super flatness in which the main character, Yubaba, is moving. And there's a bunch of luxury, a bunch of paper, a bunch of wood, bricks, fabrics, and all of that moving around her. They are supposed to be part of the background, and yet they are here being animated. And it doesn't take you out from this immersion. Another good example, although people might come at me for saying, due to the fact that this is a very old movie and it was really a pioneer, so it has to get a pass, but still, I just wanted to show you, to give a point. This is from Snow White. And you absolutely realize that the animation of the flowers completely change as soon as they're not interacting with the characters. Even the colors themselves change.
Huh? 誰？
It goes to show that it's not afraid to interact with each other in so many ways. Another good example to show you that it could be applied within the 3D animation world be within the show Arcane. The fact that these are characters that are 3D modeled, right? And then these are backgrounds that are hand painted. It looks like a lot of brush strokes, right? But the thing is that the characters are also seemingly as if they were hand painted. They are 3D models for sure, but they have some sort of imperfection, some sort of edge to them. So going back to Ghibli and all that, the reason why I make this video again was to analyze it, to study it for my own projects of animations here and there. Please, for the love of God, if you're still watching this video, I encourage you with all my mighty heart to check these videos in the box below. Probably you have already watched them, but I encourage you to check them out. I hope you understand, I hope you comprehend, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.